It's time for another grapple. Today we're grappling with obstructions, we're grappling with banning kickoffs, we're grappling with unseasonably tall NRL debutantes, we're grappling with everything else there is to grapple with. Good evening, welcome.
Good morrow.
My name is Kerry Bowstead, joined by David Fairley in his North Sydney Bears outfit. I got my 1980 Queensland Maroons jersey.
Replica 1980 jersey. I freaking love that jersey. That was brought out as 25 years of State of Origin. This one is my ode to the North Sydney Bears, still around in the New South Wales Cup. But when we talk expansion, which everyone's always talking, I say we bring back the Bears, put them in the Central Coast, take them to Perth, take them to another place in New Zealand. But whatever you do, let's bring back the Bears. You remember that Bears team from the
absolutely,
mid-90s?
mate.
Matty Sears, Benny Eichen, Flo. Yep. How good was Flo?
Matt Soden. I remember Mark Soden. I remember the 12th man going, he's going to take Matt Sears off and Soden back on again.
Exactly. You had that back row of Billy Moore, Fairley, Larson, Craig Wilson, one of the most underrated utility back rowers, utility forwards the game's ever seen.
Benny
Eichen.
Yeah.
Full of Queenslanders.
I wonder if any of them would come back. That'd help the bid.
As in to play.
Yeah, get him out there.
Get Jason Taylor back playing.
You know someone who could come out of retirement?
Mark Graham.
You know someone else? You know someone else?
Who?
Our guest that we're going to get to very soon, I reckon, would still have a massive spring in his step. This is The Grapple. My name is actually Joel Spread, but your name is Johnny Manning.
It is.
Johnny, it's a minor miracle that you're here today. You absolute warrior.
I have been in the wars this week, let me tell you, Joel. I've had I've had a tooth that's cracked on 3 sides. And then became infected. Absolutely floored me over the Easter weekend. Super convenient getting a rip-roaring toothache on Easter Saturday morning because, you know what, all the dentists are open.
Of course they are.
Anyway, it's been a couple of days in the dentist chair, still at least 1 or 2 to go. But I want to tell you, I've gone to this dentist she's European of some extraction.
Yeah.
She has an accent. She's very, very good. Very no frills.
An efficient dentist.
Very efficient. She oozes the discipline.
Okay.
That European discipline that characterized the Soviet and East German Olympic teams of the 1980s.
Okay. So does that mean you now have a mouthful of golden teeth?
I could have a mouthful of some kind of substance. I don't know. But she's incredibly physical, but also takes tremendous care with your teeth as well, and she won't tolerate nonsense, Joel. She the assistant was there with my mouth open. There's this big rubber sort of patch over my mouth, and they're going to work on my teeth, and the phone rings. So the assistant pops out to answer the phone. She comes back, and they kind of talk in this little whisper.
Yeah.
When they're talking. So,
the clinic voice.
I can hear you, but they're being respectful that I'm in pain. And she said, such and such is on the phone. The dentist just sort of doesn't look at her and says, I am busy right now. Not I'm busy, I am busy right now. Yeah. English is a second language.
Yeah.
And the assistant goes on to say something else, a follow-up question.
About the phone call?
About the phone call.
Okay, yeah.
And the dentist looks up at her and says, I am busy right now. And that was the end of it.
Did she gritted teeth?
It was hysterical. This poor dental nurse walked out on these eggshells. But anyway, I'm back.
It was an eggshells dental clinic.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I've had a rough old week, but I'm kind of back to full health.
How does it compare to the worst of your 2 or 3 injuries that you had during your playing days?
2 or 3?
A handful of injuries.
11 surgeries.
Yeah, half dozen, let's say.
It's nothing.
Nothing
at all.
It's
a walk in the park.
Okay.
I laugh. I'm an idiot. If something hurts me a lot, I go dead silent.
Yeah.
And go to my happy place. But if it's that pain that's not that bad, I'll start giggling.
Okay.
And that's not because I'm tough. It's just my body's response to it. So, and the needle that goes in, how it's sometimes, that needle. I started giggling when the needle. Okay. And then if she starts hitting a nerve, I'm just dead silent.
Like, Johnny, you still there?
Okay, I have to go to my Happy Gilmore happy place where there's a person on a hobby horse and,
I'm picturing Jack Napier in the 1989 Batman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting in the chair going,
the mirror.
Give me the mirror.
The mirror. Anyway, that's
You're back. I was in a dental chair once, and the dentist and his young assistant, were having a passive-aggressive argument while I was neck deep in fillings and needles and drills and everything. And he kept looking up to make a point to this this young assistant.
It's attention down here, chap.
Yeah. It's like you told me that the equipment was here. It's like, yeah, no, it is. It was there this morning. Well, it's clearly not here. Look, I'm looking right now and it's not here. But I'm telling you, it was there this morning. Yes, well, it's not there. You need to get a little bit better at taking care of things. I'm just thinking, can you just fucking, how about my teeth?
Yeah.
How about this going on? Yeah. Anyway.
Enough dental talk.
It's good to have you back. So much to talk about today.
Oh, and just before we get going.
Yes.
So the North Sydney jersey, the Wrexham FC cap.
Yep.
In Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, owners of Wrexham FC. Big fans of the show.
Oh, g'day. G'day, Rob.
Hey,
G'day,
Rob and Ryan.
They're coming on next week?
Or the week after.
In studio?
Yeah, they'll be in here.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Geez, you bring the guests.
Yeah, that's how we work.
On that note, so Broncos are facing a trip to the dentist, or the NRL's equivalent of the trip to the dentist with a game in Melbourne to kick off the round. Yeah. We'll get into a little bit of that. You have a little bit of praise for the Penrith Panthers as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about them. I mean, they're a team not short on praise, but this is probably left field praise.
Okay.
So I'll talk about that a bit later.
Kickoff bans, obstructions, DCE into yet another career threshold.
Another higher echelon.
Yeah, the legacy of DCE.
And I want to talk about some effort and non-efforts.
Yep.
Across what I've seen so far.
I think the biggest one, which we'll get to, but was one of the greatest efforts you've seen that wasn't followed by effort alongside it. Yeah, okay.
And we'll get into that as well.
But before anything else, it is the Grapple podcast, and what we do love is bringing in excellent guests. So, Johnny, have you got a special introduction ready?
Look, there is no introduction that could do justice to the fella that's coming on next. Look, let's talk about Broncos and Melbourne. He's an alum of both teams. But South Sydney, Roosters, Gold Coast Titans, Catalan Dragons.
Yeah, let's talk about scoring a try in every game of the 2001 Origin series.
And let's talk about a fella that Rabbits Warren said, faster than a gazelle.
When you get the gazelle comparison from Ray, you're pretty quick.
But a fella who also was the subject of a saying that has become part of rugby league vernacular for the past 23 years, since it was said on the bench by the Blues trainer Nathan Brown.
Okay.
It's none other than rugby league legend, NRL legend, Chris Walker. Walks, g'day, mate. How you doing?
That was an introduction. Thanks very much, boys. Thanks very much for having me on.
Look at beautiful sunny skies. Well, a bit cloudy, but lovely weather where you are, mate. Look, firstly, thanks for coming on the Grapple. How's life, mate?
Yeah, it's. I heard you talking about getting a little filling, or you had something wrong with your teeth.
It's a long story.
He basically had his jaw removed and put
much.
back. Did that hurt?
A little bit.
No, I won't trump you, mate. But I'm just coming back from two. I'm coming back from two broken legs. So, mate, 2.5 years ago, I had the side of a shipping container land on me, and mate, fractured both my legs. Compound fracture my left leg, snapped my right leg, ACL, meniscus. You think people ask me what happened, and I'm like, well, probably shouldn't have argued with my missus twice. I should have got the message after the first argument. But no, mate, I've been good just on that, Johnny. Last time I saw you was a couple of years ago coming through Mackay, where we had a bit of time together. And then was it last year at Origin?
Year before at Origin,
we ran into each other.
Year before at Origin.
So been good, mate. I've got a vodka company that we're producing out of in Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast at the moment. We started 2.5 years ago. Myself and two other co-founders. Nate Miles actually is one of our shareholders. It's good to have the great man a part of the company. So, mate, I've been pretty busy since footy's finished, and enjoying family life and what comes of that, and seeing my three beautiful kids grow up into young adults. So, mate, life's good, and you'll always see me walk around town with a smile on my face.
That's awesome.
Well, I just want to delve into that a little bit, because you did an amazing look, it's an amazing feat what you did a couple of years ago for your great mate Charlie Webb. R.I.P. Charlie, just passed away recently. You walked from Cairns to the Gold Coast in, about 3 months?
Yeah, 71 days it took me in the end.
Yep. And I mean, I did a couple of days on the road with Chris.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Up in sort of north central Queensland. And I reckon we punched out 30-odd Ks on both of those days. And after the first day, he'd come from Cairns, and this is just south of Mackay. I was a wreck the next day. I think we did 35 Ks. I was like, holy shit. My legs are on fire. My back was, screwed. This guy had been doing it every day. And I joined him again just north of Rockhampton about a week later to do it. But that was a pretty unbelievable feat. And I think it was on whichever day it was, the second day, Walk said, I've got an appointment in Rockhampton because his back was playing up. And he said, I need to get going. And he just took off for the last 5Ks of 35Ks and he ran. And I tried to run. I couldn't foot it with him. And he just went...
Hang on, so you've been walking for 30, then you run the last...
And he's took off for a 5K run. But then to hear, mate, about the accident you had later on in that year where you broke both your legs, mate, that was devastating for me. You know, I'd been with you.
Isn't it weird? It's weird, Johnny, before you go, it's weird how the world works. Like, I'd walk for 71 days. All up was about 66 days. I got shut down for 3 days during COVID, so it actually pushed it out to 71. So 65 days was the number I think we ended up walking for the thing. But you walked 2.5 million steps in 65 days, and then something like that happened 6 months later, and I'm in a wheelchair for 6-8 weeks and haven't been able to walk and wasn't able to walk for that amount of time. So it's so weird how the world works, and I guess that comes with life. You sort of have your ups and your downs, and it's how you react, and it's how you pick yourself up and going again. And having a good support group around you and friends, family, loved ones, they sort of make that little transition or that little hiccup in your life sort of make it much easier than what it actually is. But Johnny, you did an amazing effort in those 2 days you were with me, and
I did too.
Having guys like yourself come in and do those days with me. I know that I was pretty conditioned by the time I got down there, and I understood how much that you guys dug in and gave me the strength to keep on going on those days. We mentioned Nate. I had him for the first 12 days down to Townsville, but Johnny, like having you down there walking with me was, you don't realise that sort of mindset, how that mind put me into a better mindset to get the job done, to get down to Gold Coast and finish off the walk, mate. So thanks very much for that. I don't think I really thanked you enough, or I don't think you've ever heard me thank you for doing it. But having you on board, mate, was a massive injection of willpower and whatnot that I needed.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, as I said, I got more out of it than you could possibly imagine, mate. It was an awesome time and an awesome thing to be
more than just the blisters and the bad back.
And look, to be honest, I think there was a part where I'll fucking go into the weeds a little bit here. It's probably boring, but there was a part where we were on the Marlborough Stretch. Now the Marlborough Stretch is a horrible piece of highway just south of Mackay between Rockhampton. It's actually really dangerous. So Walk said this amazing...
It feels like it goes for miles, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And when you're driving it, it's only probably 3.5 hour drive to Rockhampton, but it feels like your entire life. And there's nothing there. Yep. There's literally no service stations. There's nothing.
It's one big stretch.
Yeah, it's just me and him for like 6 hours or so. Just the support staff were in cars sort of behind us, and we spent 6 hours just talking about life, and it was just a bloody beautiful experience.
Yeah, amazing.
It was, Johnny, and the thing is too, mate. Like having that time to yourself. Like people go, "Oh, was it hard?" Yes, it was extremely hard. It was mentally. Apart from it being a physical challenge, mentally it was a massive challenge to do. But what you realise, what I found with myself when I was in those situations and I was by myself and I had no one to walk with, it was sort of like a bit of a pilgrimage for myself on how I could better myself. And I've still got a long way to go. My past when I was playing football, I got into a lot of trouble with alcohol and everything else. And, my career probably could have gone a lot longer. I could have played a lot more games. I probably would have only played for 1 or 2 clubs. But what that walk made me realise is that, those sort of situations that I put myself in with being on the drink weren't the best situations for my now young family and a role model and a person that I wanted to be, that I want to be for my wife and I want to be for my kids. That whole walk, even though it was for my mate Charlie and, there was a number of other charities that benefited from it. But I think that just those 65 days walking along and then having, Johnny, you come on and a couple other mates join me just made me realise that, things aren't that bad and, you can change your life and you can certainly better it. And I think it was a really good mental challenge for myself to get through, but it was also a growth journey that I had personally that was so much better.
Do you reckon, like you're always a really good trainer, you know, one of the fittest at whichever club you're at. Do you reckon that kind of conditioning and that kind of mental, I guess, resilience, do you think you'd be in the position you are right now today after breaking your both legs without that kind of conditioning and training?
100% no. Like when I was at the Broncos and when I was at a couple of NRL clubs, we used to do these army camps, and they were very, very physically challenging camps we used to do. We'd be out in the wilderness for 3 or 4 days. We'd have no sleep. It was all about mental toughness. It was all about forming the mental toughness that teams need to get through games in tough situations. At the 80th minute, you need to be sticking together. It's all about being together. It's all about, you know, putting yourself so far out of your comfort zone that, these SAS guys, like the Army guys and the guys that train like that, that's how come they're so good at what they do, because we go out there and we play football and it's not life and death, where these guys are in a situation where if they are weak, they're getting shot or they've got people shooting real bullets at them, and they need to train themselves mentally to be able to withstand that. We did it for 2 or 3 days. These guys live their life that way. And though the amount of times that I was on the walk, and I spoke to Wayne Bennett about it because I talk to Wayne all the time. He's actually, like, Wayne's really good for me. He gives me advice on business and life and personal advice, like my dad does, like my brothers do and my family do. But I just remember saying to him, there were so many times during that walk where I just dug into the times when we were on these training camps and you couldn't think you'd get through. You knew you were going to get through, but you had sleep deprivation, you had no food, you had to work as a team, you had to have a little bit of mental resilience, and that's where, like, some of the times where I'll be like, no, I'm going home. This is way too hard. I'll be like, no, I've got people that are supporting me. I've got people that I used to wake up, at 5 o'clock each morning to get on the road. And the first 2 minutes I'd wake up and I'd be like, far out, I've got to do this fucking walk again. And then I'd go, I'm doing it for Charlie. I'm doing it for these other organisations that are relying on me, that are going to help people. And then I'd turn my phone off airplane mode, and then I'd just have messages come through on Facebook and Instagram, watching my journey and people gaining strength on what I was doing. And it's amazing. I'd be dressed and I wouldn't even realise I'd be dressed, and I'd be back on the road and be like, what happened for the last 10, 15 minutes? I can't remember getting dressed, because you're just in that moment, right? I've got a job to do and people are relying on me to finish this job. I've got to get it done.
That's awesome. And when you're talking about those army camps, surely you're talking about Canungra. Is that AKA Wayne Bennett's happy place down there, the Gold Coast hinterland there? He loved going to Canungra, Uncle Wayne.
I'll tell you the story when we first went. It was the first time that we ever went to Canungra and did the army camp. They all said, right, we're going to get on the bus. We're going to go down to Canungra. We're going to have 2 nights, a 2-night training camp. They gave us these hiking boots from Nike. Like, it was like a month before or 6 weeks before. And they said, listen, boys, make sure you wear your hiking boots in, because we're going to be doing a little bit of hiking. So they didn't let us know what was going on. We got there, and the first day, we turned up. I think we were about 6, maybe 8 Ks outside of Canungra. And anyone who knows Canungra, it's just hill after hill after hill to get into where the army barracks are. And we pulled up, bus pulls up, Wayne goes, righto, boys, shoes on, we're going to run into Canungra. No one knew how far it was. We were just thinking it was just around the corner, just a bit of a warm-up, welcome to camp. We ran 8 Ks. Lottie DeCurie fainted on top of one of the hills, so we had to pick him up. That was the first hour. And then we went and did, all these pool things, and then they said, right, boys, we're having dinner tonight. Have a few beers. Tomorrow we're going to be, training again. Don't have too many. Be responsible. As you're led by Alfie Langer, and there was beers involved. It wasn't we had to drink every single beer before we went to bed. Otherwise, Elf would have been filthy. I think I crawled into bed, like literally crawled into bed at about 1:30 in the morning. Had way too much. Next minute, at about 2:30, the SAS guys come through the camp where we were sleeping, shooting live machine guns into the air to wake us up. And then we started walking for, I think it was 18 hours. And we didn't finish until the next day. And we had logs, tractor wheels. We had to carry, box trailers together. Like we're in groups of, back then it was the top 25. So there was 2 groups of 8 and a group of 9. And we just had to stay in those groups and work as a team to get the job done. And the mental toughness that you had to go through just on that camp was pretty significant. And the guys who were a little bit weak, we soon found out who they were. And some of the guys actually got told they weren't welcome at the club after the camp because they didn't rip in.
You're kidding. Some of the top 25. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So the top 25, and there were a couple of little fringies in there as well. And some of those guys got told that they weren't required at the club because what Wayne saw and the reports that Wayne got from the SAS guys that these guys aren't going to fit. If the game's on the line at the 79th minute and you need to be, ripping in, these guys are going to be the first ones that are going to desert you. So that's how like cutthroat these camps were. Yeah. They were really tough. They were extremely tough. And Johnny, getting back to your question, yeah, mate, I dug into the mindset that I'm being on those camps on that walk so many times, it was ridiculous. And I thank Wayne for it because I don't know if I would have made it.
I'm curious if Alfie Langer was as keen for a beer on night 2 after the 18 hours. Was he still going, come on, boys, let's do it?
6 more songs. 6 more songs. 6 more songs.
Hey, Chris, let's look at your, mate, footy family. Obviously, Ben and Shane, yourself, now Sam as well. The lineage continues, but going all the way back to your beginnings, Australian schoolboys, when you were still a teenager.
16 years old.
16 years of age. And you knew then, you're like, I might be onto something there. But you've alluded to a couple of demons that came in through your career as well. What do you say about the pressure, the expectation, that pathway that you had into the game, and I guess where that led as far as some of the challenges you faced later in your career?
I don't think it was sort of the challenges that I had during my football career all spanned from one thing, and that was alcohol. And like I said, it's taken me to be 43 years of age to stay away from it because it doesn't agree with me. And again, I talked to Wayne all the time, and I was 6 months into my sobriety, and Wayne said, how are you feeling? I said, it's the best I've ever felt. And he said, Chris, you should have retired 24 years ago. He said, you would have been playing a lot more years. Yeah. But, the pressures of playing rugby league are the pressures that you put on yourself, I think. When I was young, I had no pressure on myself because I knew that I could play rugby league. I knew that, someone give me the ball, there's a good chance I'm going to score a try. And that's just me. That's not me sounding like a cocky asshole. That was just how I felt all the time. I feel like I watch, and I'm not putting myself in the same boat as Reece Walsh, but I watch Reece play and I watch my nephew Sam play, and those boys go out there and they play football. And that's how I was taught. I was just taught to go out there and play football. It wasn't a pressure thing for me. It was just enjoyment. And these kids that play now, especially those two boys at their age, because that's how old I was when I was playing Origin and whatnot. They're just a lot smarter than me off the field. They don't get into trouble. Reece got into a little bit of trouble, but to his credit, he's pulled himself way back from that. And that's a sign of a really intelligent and mature kid. And I wasn't that person. And it took me to be 43 to be mature or some sort of maturity. But, having Ben and Shane there, my dad also played in the 70s and 80s in the Brisbane comp when that was he played in the 1980 grand final for North. They beat South. There was, I think, 45,000 people at Lang Park.
Yeah, awesome.
And Dad was the back rower for North. And so football has always been a part of my life. Mum's brother, Paul Mills, he used to play for the Queensland Reds in Union. So, we had a pretty good bloodline. they mustn't have been able to tackle because I couldn't tackle. I thought defence was a thing that went around my house.
What was your backup option? What it was always footy, but what was plan B, Chris, if you ever needed one?
That's the thing. I had no plan B. I wasn't, and at school, I basically went to school because, when you got two older brothers, Ben was picked up at the Broncos when he was 14 years of age. I'm 4 years younger than Ben. So it goes Ben, 2 years younger than Shane, 2 years younger than me, and then 4 years younger to my little brother Luke. And I've never really been asked this question, but I think about it all the time. Even at school, when I was at school, I always knew in my head, I didn't think of injuries because you're only one injury away from, your career being ended. And I never thought about that. I always, probably at the age of 13 or 14, I always knew that I was going to be a football player because I didn't worry about my schooling. And I only went to school really to play rugby league. That's the only reason I'd get up. I'd put my school clothes on. I'd do homework and I'd sort of behave myself all right at school because NRL clubs would know that you're misbehaving and they'd steer away from you. Lucky I wasn't drinking at school. Otherwise, I would never have had an NRL career. But when you got two older brothers, Ben and Shane, who Ben was, 14 and 15. I was 11. Cyril Connell, the great Cyril Connell, God bless his soul. He was the talent scout for the Broncos, and he really never missed too much talent. He was probably one of the best talent scouts in any sport in Australia. He identified Ben, and then very quickly identified Shane, and then kept an eye on me for 1 or 2 years, and then offered me a scholarship or like one of those training things when I was 13 or 14. So I never really excelled at school, or I never really put in at school because I always just thought that I was always going to be a rugby league player and I was going to make a career out of that, make some money. And later on in my life, when I was later on in my footy career, I knew that I wasn't going to be playing football for the rest of my life, and I wasn't. And there's no rugby league player in my era or before my era. Probably now they could do it because they earn so much money. That I've never seen a rugby league player retire and make enough money that he could retire from work. So I always knew at about probably 23, 24 that this can only last for another maybe 8 to 10 years if I'm lucky. So I've got to start thinking about an exit strategy from football. And then I saw Ben and Shane, when they finished playing football, they didn't really have an exit strategy from playing football. They didn't know what they were going to be doing as in work or business. So I started an earth moving business probably about 3 or 4 years before I retired as my exit strategy. And then I built that up to a pretty substantial business. And then I made a decision at 31. I probably could have went on for another 3 years if I didn't have the earth moving business going at the time, because it was making more money for me per month than what I was a year playing footy.
Shit.
At the end of my career.
Wow,
So
okay.
I was, had that little bit of, foresight. I saw my brothers go through it, and they struggled that transition from going from, into football, from playing football into their work life. And I thought, I'm not doing that. So I started my earth moving business, got it going. It was a bit of a downfall at the end. I ended up going bankrupt about 8 years ago from the earth moving, and learned a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my relationship. I learned a lot about relationships with people. So I've had some pretty good life lessons in that instance. And, I try and sort of teach my kids at the age of 16 and 13 to go for something they want to achieve. And my kids are pretty good, and they're okay. So I'm happy with that.
You said, you'd put your school uniform on just because you're going to play footy. I played against Shane in schoolboys for a couple of years, right? So I was at St. Pat's Mackay. These are St. Mary's Toowoomba guys. And I remember I think I've told Walks this before, Shane used to make me sick how good a footballer he was at schoolboys. It just wasn't fair.
Yeah.
How good this bastard was. And, my year of grade 12, Shane made Australian schoolboys. So the next year, I went back to the Confraternity Shield. I was at the Cowboys, and I went back to Mackay. It was in Mackay, so I popped back to Mackay just to watch a few games. And St Mary's rolled out, and this guy playing number 3 or 4 for St Mary's starts scoring length of the field tries. And I look through the program, it says Chris Walker, and I'm like, there's a fucking another one of them.
Walker.
Oh my god!
How many Walkers are there?
Yeah, exactly. And just
I was lucky. I was playing against kids. I was playing against kids with seeing eye dogs and canes, so I could score some tries.
I think he was in grade 11 and I think he got player of the carnival at Confraternity when you're in grade 11. So unreal. But mate, you went through Broncos. You went to the to South Sydney Roosters, Storm. Were you I think you were the first try scorer for the Titans.
Titans, yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then over to France, and then came back to Para for a bit of a stint there, and then decided to call it quits. What was the point in 2011 when you just said, "Okay, that's it"? Was it mid-season?
Yeah, it was mid-season. I tell you, like, touching back on my earth moving business, what happened was I actually started my earth moving business in 2000. I think it was 2008, midway through 2008. I was playing for the Gold Coast Titans, and one of the guys, I just bought a house in the Gold Coast, and one of the guys who worked at Turf Force, which were a Titan sponsor, they laid the turf at Skilled Park and what have you. And the guy come around and he said, "Oh, what are you going to do after footy?" And I said, "Well, I really don't know." I said, so I see my brothers, finish football, and then, so the transition's been a bit hard. I'm starting to think about starting my own business. And he goes, "Well, mate, we need a bobcat and a tipper out at the farm." He said, "Would you be interested in starting an earth moving business?" And that's how it all started. And I had that going. I didn't even know how to turn that bobcat on. I had no idea. So I just went, you know what? I'll go out there. I'll do like I did with my football career. I'll just put everything into it. I'll make it happen. I end up making it happen, and then I end up having an opportunity at the end of 2009. I had the earth moving business going. Then end of 2009. Gold Coast wanted to sign me. I could have stayed, but then an opportunity to go play in the Super League for the French team, the Catalan Dragons, popped up or was laid up on the table, because what had happened was I'd agreed to terms with the Bradford Bulls, and with my past, they thought that I had a criminal record and I wouldn't have been able to get a British visa or an English visa. So that sort of fizzled out really quick. And then obviously the Catalan Dragons come through and said, "Well, listen, we'll take some ex-criminals, so you can come over to France with us." And
there's a couple of yous, weren't there?
We'll take a couple of ex-cons.
Yeah, it's weird because we took all of English ex-cons and we made a colony out of it.
It's good to send a couple back.
Paying it
And
forward.
I wanted to go back and they said no. So I don't get
Bloody
it.
hypocrites, mate.
I know. If I had a sail back on Captain Cook's boat, they might have let me in.
They might have, yeah.
But yeah, then I had the opportunity to play over there, which Courtney and I were thankful for the opportunity. I don't think that I could move over to France again, but it was certainly an experience for me. And my oldest one, she was only 2 at the time. Courtney fell pregnant when we're in France. So, and she's being a Toowoomba girl, like I'm a Toowoomba boy. That's how we met. She wanted to come home, and obviously, I didn't want really to be over there. And she was pregnant with twins too, so it made it a little bit harder. She wanted the support of my family and her family. And then Parramatta, I definitely wanted to finish playing in the NRL. And I came back, signed, lived in Sydney, still had my earth moving business going up here in southeast Queensland. 2011 season started. I was winning contracts up here with the earth moving, and it just became way too hard. I'd go to training. I'd train in the morning, have 2 hours or 3 hours off, and then would have another session in the afternoon. And for that entire 3 hours in between training, I'd be organising jobs and machineries to go on jobs. So it just became way too hard. I still loved the game, but it wasn't, because I was so distracted by what was going on up here in Queensland with the business. Football it definitely took a backward step or back seat to, righto, this is the next phase of my life. I'm 31 years of age. I can only milk this cow for so long now. It's not going to be paying the bills like the earth moving was. And then I remember the decision really, really, really clear. Steve Kearney was the coach of Parramatta, and I knew that I was going to be dropped. I knew it because I went out there and played against the Broncos on the Friday night. Didn't have the best game, and any time that we had a loss, Steve Kearney would go, "Righto, Chris, you're dropped." Like, I'd be on the wing. They'd score 5 tries through the middle, and we're going to drop the winger.
Makes sense.
So I thought, So I thought to myself, righto, went home from training. He goes, Chris, called me into his office. He said, I'm going to play in the reserve grade. And then on the way home from training, I just went, you know what? I can make a go of it at home. So I'm retiring. And I made a decision right there and then. Didn't even tell my missus. So I got home, drove home. Courtney goes, how's training? I said, I'm retiring. And she goes, oh, have you finally made the decision? I said, yeah, we're retiring. We're going home. We're going to go back to the Gold Coast. We'll go back and live there. And she goes, yeah, righto, sweet. There's only 5 games left of the season. She goes, so do you want me to start looking for rentals? I said, no, start looking for a removalist. And she said, oh, well, we've got 5 weeks. I said, no, we're leaving now.
Oh, really?
Oh,
She
wow,
goes,
okay.
yeah, she goes, and this is at 2:30 in the afternoon. And we had my 2-year-old and then Courtney, we just had twins. So the twins were only like 6 months old. And I said, no, find a removalist. She goes, what do you mean? I said, we're going home tonight. And she goes, are you serious? And I said, yeah, I'm deadly serious. I said, I'm done. I want to get back. I want to concentrate on the business. Let's go. So Courtney, just being Courtney, she just goes, all right, then let's go. And she started packing the car up with me. While we're doing that, we're packing the house up, putting things into boxes, getting the kids ready. Took us maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to organise everything and pack the car like a Jenga set, like a Tetris set. And we organised a removalist by 6:30 that afternoon, and I started driving home at 6:45. Got back to the Gold Coast at 5 o'clock in the morning. I rang Steve Kearney and I said, oh, Mooks, I'm not coming to train today. And he goes, what's wrong? And I said, oh, mate, I've decided to retire. And he goes, oh, mate, just come in and see me today at training and we'll talk about it. And I said, oh, it's too late. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I'm already back at the Gold Coast. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I packed up the house last night and drove home. And he said, so you made the decision? I said, yeah, Mooks, you can't bring me back, mate. I'm not coming back. So, mate, thanks very much for the opportunity. All the best for the rest of the season. And we got last.
Wow, that's I tell you what, though, when you made your mind up, you've made your mind up.
I tell you what. Yeah,
But Chris,
I think that's with life, but like everything that I do, once I make my mind up, I'm set on it then, and it's pretty hard to come back from it. And sometimes I think irrationally, sometimes I think rationally. I think that was a irrational, rash decision.
Yeah. Oh, mate, it got to where you are today.
I got to ask you, but thank you so much for your time, Chris Walker, a legend of the game. The dynasty continues in the Walker family. And as a Broncos fan, I'm still a little bit annoyed that we didn't lock down Sam when we had the chance. I want to ask you, mate, what's the ceiling for your nephew? He's when he's fit, he's one of the best running round.
Yeah, he is. He's a. Not only is he a superstar of the game, he's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful young man off the field. He definitely doesn't act like his uncle, thank God. He acts probably more like Shane, which is actually a good thing. I feel like there's 2 teams I really, really love in the competitions. Broncos, because I started there, and I had a really good time myself personally at the Roosters. So I do go for the Roosters, but I only go for the Roosters because Sam's playing. If Sam was playing for the Gold Coast Titans or Parramatta or Balmain or whatever, I'd still go for that team. But I'd love to see him back at the Bronx. I don't like how they treated him when they were supposed to sign him. I think Seabold was a coach at that time. Some things went down that weren't the greatest for a young kid at school that had been chased by every single NRL club in the competition. I would have loved to see him at the Bronx. But he's forging his own career and his own legacy down at the Roosters, and I just hope that the Roosters treat him well, and I hope that the Roosters allow Sam to play the way he plays. And I know they got Cooper there, and Cooper, the way he played was a lot different than Sam. Sam's off the cuff, instinctive player, where Cooper's very structured and sort of manufactured into a halfback. So. I just hope that they do the best for him and let him play a little bit of football, because once he gets going, We saw in the first 2 years what he does when he does play instinctive and how the boys follow him. So, and he was only 18 and 19 years of age at that time. So, I'd love to see him win some premierships for the Roosters and bring them back to their glory days.
Yeah. Oh,
Awesome.
mate, Chris Walker, it's been bloody great hearing what you've had to say today. Coming on to the Grapple, mate. Thank you.
You're a great storyteller, mate. We thank you for being on the show. As I said
Thanks
earlier,
for having me, boys.
Mate, Broncos, Rabbitohs, Roosters, Storm, Titans, Catalan, Eels, a stack of origins, and over a 500 percentage of scoring tries. So better than one try every 2 games.
And let's not forget
That's unreal.
The mighty Jets. The
Ipswich Jets.
That's got to be. That has to be
boys.
rugby league history. Being coached by your brothers to win a grand final. Is that history?
And you won the national final as well, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, this is what I talk about my brothers. Now, there's a lot of people that don't like the Walkers. I get it, like in those circles, and I don't care what other people think about myself, whatever. And people are going to say this because they think I'm a little bit biased, but I've been coached by the greatest coaches that rugby league has ever seen, probably sport has ever seen, in Wayne Bennett and Craig Bellamy.
Yeah.
But I'd have to say, and people are going to say, you've got to say that about your brothers, but the way that Ben and Shane coach, the way they manage their players is on the level of Wayne Bennett. The way that they tactically think about the game is on the level of Craig Bellamy.
Wow.
Like they think about rugby league and the way to play it in such a unique manner, and the way that they back their players into playing football and backing themselves is the best I've ever been coached. It's the way they coach is just a breath of fresh air. And it's unfortunate they didn't get a chance to coach in the NRL. I don't think that the powers to be at these clubs had the balls to employ them.
They weren't willing to take that risk.
I think they were ahead of their time, to be honest.
They still might, though. You never know, mate. They still might.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chris Walker, mate, it's been a privilege. Thank you for coming onto the Grapple. You're now part of the team, so we'll call you randomly at 2 a.m. one night and say we're recording at 5 a.m. and we're going to go for an 80-kilometre hike before that.
Mate.
I'm in all for all three.
Mate, you're welcome back anytime, brother, and I'm sure we've got plenty of other stories that we can churn through in future episodes.
If you got time,
mate.
boys, I'm always up for a chat. You know that.
Good on you.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Sean. Thank you. Thanks, boys.
You're a bloody legend, mate.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
Chris Walker, NRL legend. And I'll tell you what, some very, very honest discussion, some conversation there and some insight into it. It was a ridiculous career. It's a
fucking unreal career. And you know what? He's a real pleasure of a fella to be around. You know, he spoke about being a bit of a rat bag in his younger days, but he's got a great energy.
Yep.
You know, he's got a zest for life. That you think about what he spoke about, breaking his legs and having to go through that after being, a Superman walking for
100%.
65 days straight or 71 days straight from Cairns to the Gold Coast, for Charlie, and then being cut down like that, having to go through what he went through to get back. He told me just before we went to air that he just did his first 2K run. To come back from what his legs looked like.
A shipping container?
5 surgeries. He was wedged between 2 shipping containers.
Jeez.
And he's got an amazing vodka brand out at the moment.
Yep. This isn't it, by the way. This is just a Diet Coke.
It's
but
not
next
in this
time,
either. We didn't give him a chance to plug his vodka company. But
well, we will. We'll put it on the post.
Absolutely. We'll put it on the
behind
post as well. Get behind it.
Yep.
What a treat.
It was an absolute treat. Now, NRL fans, the fins are up for Dolphins fans at the moment. It's early days, and I love this because the Dolphins are on top, and Wayne Bennett was asked about it. Gee, Wayne, a couple of games in and you're on top, and I've never seen a more respectful dismissal of a journalist in my life. Wayne Bennett basically saying, for fuck's sake, yep, my job's done for the year, Q in the rack. But I tell you what, it's been good to see after they came out to start the season with an absolute pumping. To turn it around the way they have. Your Cowboys got them big time in round one.
Yeah, but I also think the Cowboys got them on the hop. I think that there was a couple of players that didn't. I don't think Maxi Plath played that game. I know for a fact Avarillo didn't play, allegedly due to his attitude. Wayne wanted to send him a message, and that's the thing about Wayne. Walks just spoke about Wayne before. Wayne would be willing to give up 2 points to make his team better in the long term. And I'm not saying Avarillo would have won the game for them. But I'm saying he sits there and goes, okay, I've got to set a standard. I need this group of men to buy into what I'm all about. If someone's not towing the line, I've got to actually set the example and say, you're not playing this week, and these are the reasons why. Then everyone else is, we can't mess about here.
Yep.
And so, that game was a loss. But since then, they've actually been playing it's a really attractive style of football as well. I spoke about Katoa needing to start, and he did, and he started at 7 since then. He's been great. Nikorima's not a 6, he's a 14. They do need a 6.
They need a 6 for sure.
But let me tell you, I'm going to segue into another bit of criticism of a team, which is the West Tigers.
Okay.
Now, after
do we need to put our voices on for this?
Now, what I'll say, Kenty, is that the Tigers are terrible.
No, they're not. They've won 2 on the trot.
Yeah.
They blasted Cronulla off the paddock, and they outlasted Parramatta.
Didn't they just?
Which was unreal.
Clint Gutherson would be still kicking himself, but you know what? They were in that position, and they got themselves there. And I love what we're seeing from young Galvin.
Well, this is the thing. You know, they criticise the Tigers, and now that they're 2 wins on the trot, they go, okay, how can we find a chink in their armour? Oh, I've got it. They've recruited too many good halves. Mm-hmm. Terrible recruitment by the Tigers. They've got too many good players on their list, which is just unbelievable. But what that does mean, they've got Luai coming next year. They got Jaden Sullivan, they got Galvin, they got Aiden Caesar, they got another couple of young halves coming through. The Dolphins are going to be looking at someone for 6.
Yeah.
There's Galvin. This kid makes me bloody sick.
Oh, I know. It's like you said about Shane Walker. He's not fair.
18.
Yeah.
Running around on the NRL field, looking like he absolutely belongs there.
Yeah.
Not being fazed by anything. Manhandling grown men, setting up match-winning tries. Leave
You
him
know who he
alone.
reminds me of? Not quite the sidestep of him, but a young Benji Marshall, funnily enough. And what we're seeing is that Benji ball, the confidence that he's taking is not befitting an 18-year-old. I'm saying Benji has given this kid and these other young halves, and the fact that they've got Caesar on the books as well, that experienced head, I love what they're doing. And inevitably they're going to lose one or two of them. Yeah. They're going to lose games. They're going to lose a lot of games. Of course they are. But these steps that we're seeing forward from the Tigers,
the only thing we can comment on is the right here and the right now.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing from their middle forwards, you know, from Zab Papali'i, from Oitukamanu, Pole, it's good stuff. They are going to have their ups and downs in the season. You know, the Broncos got done earlier in the year, but now look at them. They just absolutely put the cleaners through a pretty inept Cowboys outfit, who no doubt will turn it around again now as well.
Up against the hapless Titans, yeah.
I mean, the Titans are going to be desperate, but unfortunately they're getting the Cowboys after a 26-point loss.
Yep.
So the Cowboys are going to be pretty desperate as well. So it's not looking good for the Titans. But as I said, we can comment on the here and the now. And if we're wrong, we'll tell you next week. I was wrong about the Cowboys. I was wrong about Manly. I thought Manly would knock over the Dragons. The Dragons hit back. I thought Parramatta would pull the Tigers up after last week. Didn't happen. We're wrong. But all we can do is say give our best opinion on the here and the now. And if we're wrong, we're wrong.
And look, we are from time to time.
And
I said it was going to rain earlier. It didn't rain. You know, those sort of things.
We're wrong, but we're also just obscenely hypocritical.
Oh, big hypocrites.
Which I own.
Yeah,
I absolutely own it. I absolutely own. I want that to be known that the just sheer wild hypocrisy that goes on here, I'm genuinely proud.
It's out of control, Kenty. It really is.
Now let's Shane Flanagan is sick to death. Sick to
He's
death
sick of
about
it.
talk of double standards at the Dragons. It's the whole Zach Lomax issue is consumed rugby league. It's
Hasn't
like the
it?
dark side. It is consumed Anakin Skywalker for this entire year, Johnny.
Oh my God!
What's going on with Zach Lomax?
A player is leaving a club.
What? You're not allowed to.
What? He said he wants to, and this is what's bugging me as well. The Dragons are not going to have this noose around their neck,
Right?
which is the $800,000 Lomax contract.
A
noose.
player that doesn't want to be there.
Oh, for God's sakes, his manager got him $800K. Hey,
Yeah, sure.
well done.
Yeah.
Good for you,
Hat
Zach
tip.
Lomax. I want $800K as well. But the talk of that, it's this horrible thing that he's doing to the club. For God's sakes.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to be there, if he wants to play centre, go play centre somewhere.
Play centre.
Go fill your boots.
Yeah, Parramatta, maybe. Roosters. Not Roosters.
You know
Trent
what?
Robinson said nope, not happening.
I don't know where he's going to fit in at Parramatta.
Yeah, I
Will
agree.
Penasini and Bailey Simonson are two pretty handy young centres.
Yep.
You know where he could fit in? Canterbury Bulldogs and that
Doggies.
whole mishmash of a Frankenstein team they're putting together at the Dogs.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, Ciraldo's not calling shots. It's Gus Gould.
Oh.
What a huge surprise.
What?
Massive
I
surprise.
refuse to believe it.
But let me tell you this. Maybe, just maybe, the second-year coach, which is Cameron Ciraldo, might be going to a fella who, I don't know, had a bit of success as a coach.
Yep.
Phil Gould.
Oh, he did okay.
Yeah,
Over a shortish period of
won
time.
a comp in his first year.
Yeah.
With the Dogs, no doubt, no less. Hey, Gus, what do you think I should do here? Hey, Gus, you're in a higher position than me at this football club.
Yep.
What do you think about selections? Do you think that this guy should be here? Who do you think we should recruit? What's wrong with that?
It's the model that the modern model that more and more people seem to struggle with this idea of coach advisor and
Hey,
football
other modern
people.
model of a modern major general of information, vegetable, lateral, and mineral.
There
Like
are
Gilbert and
though.
Sullivan Roots. Yeah.
Wayne Bennett is going to be a mentor. He already has. I love this because the Tigers and the Dolphins. It's Benji Bull it's Master versus Apprentice. Wayne Bennett versus Benji. I love it. I love it because Benji's going to go everything that I sponged off you over those last few years at Souths. Watch me now try and use it against you. But if I call you tomorrow and say, well done, Wayne, you beat us by 40, where did I go wrong?
Wayne's going to tell him.
Wayne's going to tell him, and that's okay. That's fine. That's good for the game.
Kenty?
I'm going between characters here.
Yeah, he
Daly
is.
Cherry Evans, 310 games for Manly just around the corner.
Is that all?
Yeah, he's a bit slack. He's
200 of them should have been with the Titans.
Oh, stop it.
I'm joking.
He's going to break the great Cliffy Lyons record, mate. The
great
legacy.
Napper.
It's funny with Daly, you know, the old, like a bottle of fine wine or whatever, but the last 5 or 6 years from him at every level, he's a centre. And even at times when Manly haven't been at their peak, he has always put his hand up.
And what he's doing these days as well is he's not overplaying his hand as a halfback as well. He's being a genuine game manager. He's not deviating from the game plan and taking a short side and throwing a long ball to someone who's not there.
Yeah.
He's a great player, and he is much maligned, DC, for his manner in the media as well. He's very measured in what he says.
Yeah.
He's a great player. I mean, you don't play 300 games without being a great player. You've got to be durable. You've got to get selected each week. He's done it with the one club, which is pretty amazing as well. He's the Queensland captain.
Yeah, and has really owned that role over the
Back-to-back
last
series shields.
100%.
DCE holding up. And he's a Mackay boy.
Yeah, look, shout out to the mighty Noosa
Shout
Pirates
out.
as well.
Wow. we claim him as a Mackay boy as well. So.
Yeah, no, look, incredible
But he's
career.
a cherry of the great Roma and Redcliffe cherries.
Yep.
He's off that lineage. I played with JP Cherry, his
Wow.
uncle, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
So he's of that lineage as well. So
That's a strong vine.
yeah,
strong,
it is.
strong,
it is.
strong.
Cherry's
That's
a
awesome.
huge name at Redcliffe.
You've got a bit of praise now. This makes me sick.
Yeah.
No. We're about every club here, and I'll prove it because we've got a Parramatta
We
jersey.
do have a para jersey there as well.
That's not who you're going to praise. Though. You can have a bit of Panther praise, Johnny Manning.
Yeah, I am. Was that the
I'm
Wiz?
just- I'm
did
just
did we
dis-
hear something from the Whiz?
Wait, what?
What?
Was that
Is
the
there a-
Wiz?
Is there a wizard? Is there a wizard, a River City wizard in the room?
Is there a hint of the wizard or?
Or was that the Para Princess?
Okay,
Might
no,
have
I'm
been the
hearing.
Para-Princess.
Maybe we'll keep that reveal up our sleeve.
Okay, so I think it was 2 Fridays ago when Penrith knocked over the Broncos, or maybe 2 Fridays ago, 2 Thursdays ago. They sent Cameron Smith into the dressing rooms, and he's walking through the dressing rooms with a microphone and just grabbing players and talking to them. I was just unbelievably impressed with how the Penrith players answered the questions. It's almost like they have just let go of the full credit.
Okay.
Cameron Smith asked him a question. It was Mitch Kenny. This bastard answered that question eloquently, directly, and with a sensible answer. And I can't say it verbatim, but it was something like, when you scored that try, what was going through your head? And what I expected was, look, the boys, they got us there. It's, it was just the forwards doing their work, and I just got the opportunity. He said, well, actually, the tackle before, I saw such and such move this way, and I got a really quick play of the ball, and it just kind of opened up, and I showed the ball that way. And I said, okay. I was like,
Oh,
good
wow,
answer. Then he
okay,
moved
yeah.
over to Dylan Edwards. He said to Dylan Edwards, you're the effort you bring each time to the game, it seems amazing. How do you do it? oh, well, the forwards do their work. I'm just there to support them. He goes, no, well, actually, we train for situations like this. I try and do my best at training and he just gave this direct, specific answer to the question. And then he approached someone else, and I got the same thing, and I'm like, what dressing room is this guy in? It's not a rugby league dressing room.
Yep.
Then the kicker for me, the Bulldogs press conference after the loss to the Rabbits on the weekend. I had never really paid attention to Stephen Crichton in an interview, and I deliberately watched that press conference. I want to hear what this guy says. He was so well-spoken, and he spoke about what they do at training. He spoke about a couple of points in the game that they need to improve of. He spoke about things that he was impressed with in the game. It blew me away, not only the football IQ, but the ability to communicate coming out of this Penrith system. And I just thought, oh my God, not only are they all completely fit and jacked, there is not a slob amongst that Penrith crew, right? So they train their asses off, no doubt, but they train their minds as well. And I sat there and I thought to myself, no wonder these buggers have won 3 straight.
Yeah, look,
they are
you know
just
what?
A class outfit.
Full credit to them. Full credit. Look, they can only control what they can control.
I mean, I think
they'll think about next week.
I think they just take it 1 week at a time.
Yeah. No, it is really good to see because there were some, and Dylan Edwards especially, because he was in, there was a little bit of talk around certain obstruction calls and that kind of thing. It was good to hear a frank response out of DE.
Yeah, and look, I just wanted to give them a shout out because it just impressed the pants off me, to be honest.
Brendan Decura, 208 centimetres tall, tallest player ever.
129 kilograms as well.
Big unit, going up up against Big Nelson.
Is Nelson named?
No, he was on the cusp of being named. I'm going to have to refresh my team sheets on that.
So what is he, 200?
Fresh picks out of Nelson at training.
205 centimetres?
205.
So that is 6'7". No, that's 6'8".
6'8".
Oh my God.
That's based on my basic number crunching that it says 6'8".
That's Magic Johnson.
He's a big unit.
I think Magic's 6'9".
What advantages of height? Because obviously if we're talking rugby union, the advantages are obvious. If we're talking AFL, if we're talking basketball, if we're talking boxing, rugby league.
Funny you say that. I've heard of young kids. I know of a specific young kid who's 6'9". He was told he was too tall for rugby league. So advantages of height, a lot. Offloading, right? You can get your hands above the defence. You can offload. You've got long arms. You've got long levers. I think with height comes size and strength. So he's 129 kilograms. That is huge. Mm-hmm. All right, that's pushing 300 pounds. So we're talking not quite because Shaq's 7'1", but that's almost Shaq. That is
size 23
monster human being. So obviously with that weight comes strength. You envisage in your head a certain amount of awkwardness being that tall. I've heard he's pretty good on his feet. In attack, he's going to be brilliant. That's what I've heard.
Yep.
Coming out of the Broncos. I don't know about defence. Is his lateral movement going to be compromised because he's so big? Who knows? Is he going to be a target? They reckon he's probably going to get 10, 15 minutes, get blooded in this game. Obviously, situationally as well. You referenced the Broncos playing the Storm as in the NRL's version of a visit to the dentist. I expect it to be like that as well. Broncos were great last week. Adam Reynolds was unreal.
The kicking game from him last week is exactly why he came to Brisbane, exactly why they wanted to sign him when people were saying he's too old to stay at that club.
He was too good. Carrigan was outstanding with the ball and that, but Adam Reynolds I was there live. It was mind-boggling.
But you know what, Reynolds, he played his ass off. But that injury, that niggling knee that he's got, he's been nursing that again all week. So now you go down to Fortress Melbourne where you haven't won a game since 2016.
Yeah.
Up against a side that's welcoming back Cameron Munster. And I stand corrected on Nelson. It's Christian Welch coming back.
Welch is coming
Munster's
back.
coming back. Hughes is there. It's a huge challenge for Brisbane.
It's a hard place to win.
But I love this. I love this about Decura because there were 2 boom rookies this year in Brisbane. It's Kobe Black, the teenage sensation. It's Decura. Decura's getting his opportunity first. 10 or 15 minutes, as you say, in that furnace. Come out the other side of that and...
Especially if they come out with a W as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I would love to see that very much, Johnny.
Yeah.
But look, it's an interesting one. I think I wanted to ask you about banning kickoffs. So in
for God's
rugby union, okay, shoot shield this year. The tackle law is coming in. You've got to tackle below the sternum. That's the new law in the shoot shield. They've been training for it all season, all pre-season, basically saying, here you go, here's a tackle pad with the ball attached to it. You need to tackle below that from now on. So tall players are going, Jesus, okay, my chiro bills are about to go through the roof. Rugby league trying to ban collisions off kickoffs. Where do you stand?
Okay. So the NFL have just altered their kickoff rule. So the kicker will be on the 35, I think, where they kick off from. The chasing team's going to line up on the 30. They're only going to have a 10-metre run-up. I think that was my phone. Do I get a carton for that? No, it wasn't me. That's your phone. So think about this, right? So the kicker's going to be 50 metres behind the chase. The chase is going to start in front of the kick. The blocking team is going to be 10 metres away. There is a landing zone, which is between the 20-yard and the end zone. If the ball lands in the landing zone, you can't fair catch it.
Okay.
All right, so no fair catch. No put the hand up, fair catch. You've got to return it. But there's only a short period of time for them to get their steam up to tackle you against the blockers. If you kick over the end zone, basically the kicking team will be penalised. It's going to be on the 40, I think you get the ball back. NFL's all about yards. Inches, actually.
Yeah, it's a game of
They're
inches.
all around us.
Yeah.
And so that's what they have done. They've also just banned the hip drop. The owners voted to ban the hip drop in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Banning the kickoff in rugby league is quite silly. So the number I heard quoted by one of the journos on one of the shows was 3.5% of concussions come from the kickoff. I don't think that's an appropriate measure to take. It seems like a knee-jerk reaction.
Yep.
Simply because Jack Preston broke his jaw, didn't know it, went back on. Passed a HIA, went back on. Now we have to change the law. We don't. Google ice hockey. They have throwdown fights.
Yeah.
Google the UFC. They are unapologetic about the nature of their sport there's an element of brutality to their sports. There is an element of brutality to rugby league. It is a high-speed collision sport. It is not for the faint-hearted, and it may not be for everyone. The NRL, and well done to them, are taking measures to protect the players as best they can. Once we start making these wholesale changes of the structure of the game, we're talking about a different game.
Yeah, that's it. And we spoke last week about those rule changes that are already putting players under extreme athletic pressure.
Exactly.
And now we're talking about taking out an element.
I want to see how many concussions happen after a 6 again is called.
Yeah. That's exactly it. When they're
Give me that
already
stat.
gassed.
When someone's gassed and can't get their head out of the way and they cop a stray knee.
Yep.
Or it's a head clash. How many? I don't know what it is, but how many of the concussions happen after that? How many of the concussions happen off a 7 tackle set, which is just a god awful rule as well?
Oh, it's shit. It's the most pointless rule in rugby league history. I'm going to say
It just
that.
doesn't make any
look, the winner's
sense.
kick that we had for a little while was pretty shit, but this one is actually out of control.
But the thing is, this banning of the kickoff, in the same conversation these journos were talking about it, one of them said it hasn't been discussed at the NRL. So where the fuck
Where's
are
it
these
coming from?
people wanting to grab frickin', I don't know, they just toss these things up.
You know,
Anyway,
that was a pretty good Al Pacino you did earlier.
You reckon?
You know, it's a Pacino script. It's got
it's
coffee,
got coffee
stains
on
on
it.
it. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. We're going to find a reason to bring that in.
I've made every mistake a middle-aged man can make. I've pushed away everyone who ever loved me. I pissed away all my money, believe it or not.
You know, I went to do an Al Pacino once, and I got the wrong line. And I said, "Oh, you do an Al Pacino again?" I go, Peter Pan. And they go, "That's a really bad Dustin Hoffman."
Yeah, how about this? Oh, God, I can't believe I'm telling this story.
Go on.
I auditioned for the National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Sydney. NIDA. The famed NIDA.
Mel Gibson, Kate Blanchett, the
Jeffrey
list
Rush,
goes on.
you name
Jeffrey
it. Sam
Rush.
Worthington.
Yep.
They said bring in three prepared monologues.
Mm-hmm.
One's a Shakespearean, the other two are of your choice. You do your Shakespeare, you do another one. If you get called away, you do your third one, right? So I go in there, I do my Shakespeare. I did Benedict out of Much Ado About Nothing. Just got strips torn off me. Just got scolded, told I missed every mark. I'm like, oh, okay.
What's a mark?
Yeah, they you missed the whole point of the monologue. And I'm like, kind of felt like I did a pretty good job of that Shakespeare. Modernised it slightly, didn't mess with the text.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I did a Baz Luhrmann.
Right.
I Baz Luhrmanned it.
So I'm thinking to myself, these guys don't like me.
Who actually is another NIDA graduate,
He is
so
too.
let
He
me
is too.
in.
So is
Yep.
his wife. And so they say, okay, now you get to do your next one.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like,
right off the back of that lovely feedback.
yeah.
How good.
So I thought to myself, all right, this one I didn't prepare, but this one I know.
Uh-huh.
And I said, can I, because all the other applicants are in the room with you, because you do it to them as an audience. And I had my strips torn off me in front of them with my Shakespeare. So I got over, I said, could you just make a circle of your chairs around me? And I sat down and I kicked off with 3 minutes till the biggest moment of our lives. And it all come down to this. We're in hell now, gentlemen. And we can stay here and get the shit kicked out of us, or we can crawl our way back to the light I did the inch by inch speech for any given Sunday in a NIDA audition. Guess what?
What?
I didn't get in.
Oh. Did they say thanks so much? Did you get to the end of the monologue?
Yeah, I got to the end of it.
You know what? I did an audition for QUT in Brisbane, the creative industries at Kelvin Grove, and I tried to pull out Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men, and I was like 18 or something. And all I wanted to do was be
Son,
like, you can't handle it. And
we live in a world with walls.
I didn't
Who's
get
going to
there.
stand on that? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? I don't think so.
You want me on that wall. You need
me on
Thanks
that
so much,
wall.
Joel. Thanks for coming in. Don't call us. We'll call you. This is the Grapple podcast.
This is the Grapple. It's not. We're not auditioning for something, but anyway.
No. We don't, I didn't even want to go to NIDA.
Yeah,
or
I didn't
Kelvin
want to go
Grove.
there. I would have knocked it back if they offered it to me.
Tips. Broncos in Melbourne.
Broncos, Melbourne. Oh, great one. Melbourne at home.
Oh, come on.
Sorry.
Look, I tipped against my Broncos last week.
so did I.
On good authority,
Yeah.
but basically being the Cowboys are on fire.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Broncos to pull one out
Yeah.
based on what we saw last week.
It's a toss of the coin.
Bulldogs, Roosters.
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 I think the Roosters, a fully fit Roosters, is a probably second-tier team. The two top-tier teams for me at the moment are Penrith and Brisbane.
Yes, I agree.
I think Brisbane without Payne Haas and Reece Walsh is still a little bit vulnerable. But the Fletcher Baker and Corey Jensen doing a great job.
I
in
love
front
what
row.
Fletcher Baker did last
Tristan
week.
Saylor's dangerous at fullback. Reynolds is awesome. I just think Melbourne at home strangle you.
Do Brisbane need to find a spot for Tristan Saylor in their 17?
Yeah,
Or
he should
does
be-
that throw them out?
He should be there 14.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So when Reece comes back, he's got to be there.
He's
14.
got to be on the
Has to
40.
be.
Okay. I'm liking Tyson Smoothie, though. That try he scored against the Cowboys was
Soft as butter.
very soft, but he's
Yeah, he's a sharp player. Nothing wrong
he's
with
got
him.
a sniff about
But
him.
Tristan Saylor's got to be in a top 17 NRL system somewhere.
Yeah. Knights, Dragons, I'm going to say Newcastle to shake it off.
Yeah, so
Maybe.
the merry-go-round of the halves. So they dropped Hastings and they had Cogger and Gamble. Now they've dropped Gamble and they've got Cogger and Hastings. So AOB is kind of clutching at straws, but maybe they get it right. I think the Knights get the Dragons. I think the Dragons are going to be one of those teams that are up and down all year.
Okay. The Knights
They're up and down.
punt on gamble. It doesn't pay off.
Look at that.
Rabbitohs.
The cogs are turning with Cogger.
Rabbitohs and Warriors. That's in Sydney. Coming off they finally broke the duck egg, of course.
But they were
Souths.
largely unimpressive.
They weren't great.
I'm going to say the Warriors. I think they're a good team.
Yep.
I'm confused. Two of us checks going back to the centres with Nickel Klokstad coming back to one.
Oh, I don't get it. I don't like
I'll
it.
put Chance in the centres.
I really like Webster. I love Webster. I love what he's doing. He's progressive as anything.
I'd leave RTS at fullback.
Don't
He
like
ran
that
for
call.
2 kilometres.
And I've got here, it was 8,000 miles. He ran from here to the
Yeah.
to the moon,
To the-
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why NASA needs a lunar clock. We need moon standard time
For
because
RTS.
of RTS's meter
Him and
count.
Dylan Edwards, the yards they get.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Manly and Panthers. I don't mind this matchup.
I actually heard someone tip Manly to bounce back. I just think the Panthers are a machine at the moment. I think that once again, they just do everything right.
Yeah.
They do too much right. Fisher Harris comes back, and he brings more than just a hard head in the middle.
Yep.
They just do too much right. You know what I mean? I just don't think they can be swayed off their course that easily. I think Manly are going to be probably going to factor in the bottom end of the top 8 at some point.
Yeah, I
this year.
think they'll get back into the form. Yep.
But I'm just not sure they can foot it with the Penrith at this point of the season.
Look, something big has to go wrong for Penrith to fall off what they're on.
And it could be called Tom Trebojevic.
Yeah.
Who knows what that lunatic can pull out, at any given
He's
time.
another player that's just ridiculous. The Dolphins and the Tigers. We spoke about this one earlier. I've got Wayne Cool head Wayne over apprentice Benji, but I just think across the park, I love what we saw from Bostock last week.
You know, I played with his dad.
I know, but the way he just it was Eric Growth like. It was Lottie Takiri. It was just like,
you know what I was
later.
disappointed. I know he's only young, but I was disappointed when he dropped the pill. Bo Fermor came over and gave him the
the old
yeah. And then about 5 minutes later, Bostock crashed over for a try, and Fermor was right there. He had the opportunity just to go brush his head.
Yeah,
that would have been nice.
Yeah,
I would have been just repay that. Hey,
no return brush.
Just return it. Hey, I just scored a try right in front of you, pal. There you go.
There you go. Have your head brushed back.
I would have liked that.
There would have been a ball throw or a shove or something on the back of that return
The
hairbrush
old ball
for
throw.
sure.
I was prone to that from time to time.
You like the ball throw?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cowboys Titans.
I
wonder
Cowboys,
who you're going to tip.
Yeah,
No.
look, I'm always going to tip the Cowboys, but I think the Cowboys win.
Yeah.
Des is going to be desperate soon, but I don't think this is the week.
Yep. I love it. Gus Gould as well. Dez's blow up last week, and he said, "You only get one of them a year. You've burnt your blow up early. You have burnt your blow up, Des. So now you need to just shut your mouth and get them winning.
Yeah,
it's not going to be this week. Raiders and Eels.
Wow, tough one
in Canberra.
Sunday,
6 p.m. So getting chilly.
I like the way Canberra play. I kind of feel like there's a couple of spots that are lacking in that team, and I can't quite pinpoint it.
Okay.
Can't quite work out what's missing for their team. Good players all across the park. Timoko is awesome.
Yeah.
Rapana's just a effort machine.
Freak of nature.
Yeah. Maybe the Raiders in.
I've got the Raiders.
Maybe the Raiders in Canberra.
And can I give a tip to all the journalists in Canberra? If they don't win, don't go to the presser. Just don't worry about it.
Sticky loves a blow up in the presser.
Just give it a miss.
Yeah,
you'll be fine. You don't need to deal with Ricky Stewart after
I made him
another
swear
loss.
in a press conference in Mackay once.
That's good.
Yeah.
Not the biggest achievement of your life, but it's...
Ricky's a wonderful fella, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
He just wears his heart on his sleeve.
He's passionate.
Yeah,
he's salt of the earth. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've got Canberra in Canberra as well. So, Sharks versus no one.
Sharks.
You got the Sharks there. All right. No, I think we've matched our tips. So we'll go.
No.
Go in together.
I've written them down here so we can actually scold each other.
Okay, very good.
Next week's episode. No,
you said Storm, of course. Yes. Okay, there you go. Grapple podcast. It's been a lot of fun. Great to hear from Chris Walker. Like, share, subscribe. Tell everyone, because we're going to have an absolute Hall of Fame roll of guests coming onto this podcast.
You know, we've had Michael Luck. We've had Chris Walker.
Yep.
Can't wait to see who's next.
Don't forget Addy from the LA Mongrels.
And
as well.
the coach and president of LA Rugby League.
Yep. Oh, actually, on that too. And there you go. We're talking about the Combine.
Yeah.
First signing from the Combine, Liz Tafuna.
Liz Tafuna.
You heard it here first. We picked it on this podcast.
We did.
Sydney Roosters have said, you know what, we like her, the 21-year-old from California. She'll pack
She's
her bags.
a rah-rah girl, right? Played rugby.
Yeah, sevens rugby.
Yeah.
She'll get over in time for the pre-season in June. So there you go.
Michael Hooper playing sevens for the Australian.
I like that. Well. Yeah, it's good.
Tommy Dearden's tackle.
Oh.
Best tackle you've ever seen?
It was a fantastic... Look, I've said that... Okay, I'm going to say about that tackle, it was an incredible, ridiculous, out-of-this-world tackle. What bothered me about it was that it didn't lift the rest of the team. It was his effort... A+, the rest of the team, C-.
And I reckon that's what Todd's talking to the Cowboys about this week.
Yep.
Why the hell can you not see that and then everyone else lift?
Where are you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best tackle I've ever seen. I think you need to remove the context of a couple in grand finals.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Sattler one, there's a Turvey Mortimer one as well in a 1980 grand final. Even there's a Fittler one on a runaway Mal Meninga in the 91 grand final.
Yeah.
Which is a great cover.
Darren Lockyer had an epic
on Mick DeVere.
Mick DeVere, yeah.
But I think that's the best tackle I've ever seen. Just, you know, removing context of the game. He had no right to get to him.
I'm not one to criticise match officials, but I'm like, that's touchy. How your flag didn't go up.
I was in the stadium in the opposite corner, and I'm like, he got him.
Yeah.
You know, and the touch, he's got the flag down, the ref awards it. And then the Drinkwater try, the ref goes, no try.
Yeah, no try.
You.
Anyway. You infernal bastards. Anyway, this is the Grapple podcast.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Joel, what a great episode.
Look after your teeth.
I will.
Don't get back to that tense. I am busy right now.
I am busy.
Let's hug it out.
Now. Suck it out.
See you next time.